Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to a Woman's Heart, where we uplift, motivate, encourage, and empower women. I thank you for being a part. I thank you for joining on the live stream. And I also thank you for watching on replay. So I'm a bit under the weather, but I'm going to push forward. Make sure you follow us on all our social media outlets. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out the social media outlet for women, toawomansheart.org. And then check out the website with the t-shirt that speaks to the heart of the woman. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And even share. All right? So for those of you watching live and for those of you who may watch on replay, tonight's conversation is an ultimatum. And I got this conversation from a show that my family told me to watch, and I told them I wasn't going to watch another program that had there was seasons, had episodes in it. I just don't want to do that anymore. But since I wasn't feeling good, I end up watching, it's called The Ultimatum. And so, as you all know, we start off with a definition. And the meaning of ultimatum is a demand which, if not met, will end a relationship or otherwise result in some serious consequences. When a woman says to her boyfriend, marry me or I am leaving you, this is an example of an ultimatum. All right. So a final proposition, condition, or demand, especially one whose rejection will end negotiation and cause a resort to force to other direct action. All right. So we as women, sometimes, a lot of us, when we feel like we've been in a relationship for a long period of time and nothing has shifted to the left or to the right in the area which we want them to shift. So we provide an ultimatum. I've been in this relationship 2 years or, whatever time frame it is, and I think it's time for you to marry me, right? And so my perception is, do you provide your expectations going into relationship, or do you agree to what was put on the table at the beginning of the relationship, and then somewhere midstream you feel like the relationship should have advanced further than what it is at the present moment, which means now you wanted to go into marriage. And so as I looked at this show, one of the girls said that she wanted to be married because she could wash, she can cook, and she can clean, and she also can screw really good. Now, here is a woman, and some women out here who says that, tell them how good you are in bed, and in actuality, you're patting your own self on the back. And you may think you great, but the person whom you with might not think that you're that great. So you're patting yourself on the back, right? And so you say you can wash, you can cook, and you can clean, but it's more to relationships, it's more to marriage than washing, cooking, and cleaning. And a lot of us, let's be honest with ourselves, we get in these relationships for the wrong reasons. Just like we move out of our parents' house for the wrong reasons. We leave our parent house because we don't want to be there. We don't want to follow the rules and all this different, scenarios that go. We don't want to follow the rules. So then that we say we potentially what's going on, but so we have rules that we want to relationships with our partner, whatever it may be, do we really understand the dynamics of a relationship? Because it's more than just washing, cooking, and cleaning. And what struck me the most about the whole conversation is nobody never said that they was in the relationship for love. Nobody never said they was in a relationship for love. They never made mention of love. Um, and for some who said they love the individual, but they were not in love with the individual, and that's a big takeaway for me. You can be in relationships and they can be what you think they are and seemingly to work perfect. But like one of the guys made mention, he spent all his time appeasing her and disregarding what would please him. So when we think about an ultimatum, even on our jobs, give me this position, or um, I want to have a baby, or I want you to marry me, or I want you to do what I said, or there's always something that goes with the ultimatum. So in a sense, if you want to be honest and truthful, when you talk about an ultimatum, what you talk about is control. So basically, what you're saying is you want to control the situation or the person. That's pretty much what an ultimatum is. It's totally different when when you start to date somebody, you say like this: okay, I'm going into this relationship with you, but these are my expectations. I don't want to date for 2 years. I'm dating with intentions and a purpose to be married. That's not providing an ultimatum. That's not saying either you're going to do this or I'm going to do that. It's not saying that, but it is putting your expectations on the table and let that individual know what you're looking for in that relationship. A lot of men um, want to be financial stable. And there's nothing wrong with financial stability. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And we have to understand that. But what needs to happen before you place an ultimatum on anybody or anything, you need to have some real conversation and really understand where that other individual is coming from, because it's not a one-sided relationship. It's two adults in the relationship. So why would you give somebody an ultimatum? And would you want somebody to give you an ultimatum? Would you? So we put ourselves in a position to expect something from somebody that we ourselves are not willing to give. And that's the sad part about it. The sad part about all of this. So we have great demand because everything that we're ultimating on has something to do with our wants and our desires without considering our other partner. And so one of the relationships that was not going anywhere, one of the girls, she did not want to have kids. And that's one of the things that in relationships that we kind of look over. I don't want to have kids. And you figure that you can change that person's mind when they tell you they don't want to have children. Well, you can't change their mind about not wanting to have children. And you need to listen. People can change their own mind. You can't manipulate. You can't present. You can't argue about what somebody's decision is for not having children. And then you may want to dig a little deeper and find out the reasons why this individual does not want to have children. That's the question you should ask. But we are so hell bent on getting our way that we don't care about nobody else's thought process, decisions, their wants, and their desires. We don't care about that. We just don't. And so when you talk about an ultimatum, demanding something, putting conditions on something, that that's not really love. It's not. You can't expect love to have a demand placed on it. You can't expect, when you talk about you loving somebody, that you place conditions on that love. Then you have to question, is it really love or just a serious lust? And it's something that you want and desire because your clock is tick-tocking. So we make ultimatums to people, and I don't think we really think about the words that we say and the actions of our requests when we put ultimatums on other individuals. I don't think we think about that. And so when you make a final proposition, I'm going to leave you unless you do this, and then that person decides to stay, do you think that that person is staying for a healthy reason? Do you think that person staying will help your relationship? No, because they're going to start looking at you side eye. They're going to start resenting you for forcing them to make a decision that they was not ready to do. So when we talk relationship, for those who are married, you can chime in on this, and even for those who are dating, most individuals, when they really truly love somebody, you don't have to give them an ultimatum. You just don't. They're going to do what they need to do for you without you placing a condition or a demand on them. That's what they're going to do. If you are in a relationship and you have to place a condition or a demand, then maybe you want to ask yourself the question, is this the relationship that I really want to be in? That's something you should really ask yourself the question. But in hindsight, do we really want to know the answer? And if you take sex off the table, then what would your relationship look like? Because a lot of our relationship is based on the sexual aspect of the relationship and not building and bonding together. It's sex is the easy part, but working the relationship is the part that a lot of us struggle. And then when you put an ultimatum out there and it don't go the way you expected, then you end up with mud on your face and you end up hurt, because a lot of individuals that does not take kindly to you putting an ultimatum on them. Now your expectations is totally different than an ultimatum. You can lay out your expectations all day long, and I suggest anybody going into a relationship, once you feel like it's going to go somewhere, you sit down and have these conversations. But we as women, we don't want to have these conversations because we don't want the answer. We don't. And I said on the podcast today, here is my thing. You can tell me you love me all day long. Love is just words. It's good that you say it. That's fine. But what I need to see from you is some action, because action speaks way louder than words. Way louder. And we're so hung up on the word love that we forget about what love is, how love shows up. That's what we forget about. And it's sad. It's so sad. We're just bent on the word, and it's more to just the word of love. It's more percentage of the action of love. But we don't think about that. We don't think about that. Our bottom line and ultimate, we want what we want, when we want it, how we want it, and we expect that the person that we want it from will oblige us in our request. And that's so unfair. So now, whether the man give the ultimatum or the woman give the ultimatum, it's not an equal relationship. Now the relationship has become one-sided, because now you're making a demand on somebody, and it's not your place to make that demand on anybody. So who are you to make a demand? And we always make ultimatums for relationships and situations that we ourselves are not willing to, or allowing anybody else to make an ultimatum towards us. So it no longer become a relationship. From what I'm looking at and from what I'm seeing in this series, it's no longer a relationship, it's a situationship, because you want what you want when you want it at the time that you want it, not considering or even asking the other person, why is it that they're not ready for this right now? And why would you want to put a person in a position where you will force them to accept your demand, your proposition for being in a relationship? And then when they oblige you and they get in a relationship or even honor your request and they marry you, and y'all don't last 30 days. You don't last 30 days. So were you really ready or not? That's the question you have to ask yourself. So they're appeasing you, but they're not pleasing themselves in the process. They're not pleasing themselves in the process. So how does the ultimatum really work for you? Do you really get the benefits that you're looking for in the ultimatum? And is it long term when you make those type of requests? So say you work a job and you get 30 days of vacation time and you've been working overtime, and you never missed a day, you never been late, and you hardly ever use your vacation time, and you feel that you just need a weekend or 4 days away from work to regroup, right? And you go to your boss and you say, look, I need 4 days, I need to rejuvenate myself, I need to refresh, I need to decompress to be better at what I'm doing. And although you get the time there up for the vacation days, and although your boss know that you're very a good employee, and you don't take a lot of time off, you do everything perfectly, and this one time you ask for a couple of days to yourself, and your boss look and say, no, you can't get it. And then you're looking all puzzled because you really don't ask for vacation time, and you really rarely been sick. And so you say, why not? And you say, well, I'm going to take these days. I'm asking, but I'm going to take these days. And then your boss turns around and tells me, well, you take them. If you take them, then you're going to lose your position. And how does that make you feel in that moment? It don't make you feel warm and fuzzy at all. Not right in that particular moment, because you feel like you've given your all to this company. You've given your all to the position. You've never been late. You've always been on time. You stayed late when you had projects and assignments. You went above and beyond. And all you asked was for a couple of days for some time to yourself. But then you get an ultimatum. If you take these days, then you're potentially going to lose your job, right? It don't make you feel warm and fuzzy. Same thing in a relationship. When you give your partner an ultimatum, it don't make them feel warm and fuzzy, and it definitely don't make them feel like they're going to love you more. Because now you're not treating them as another adult. You're not treating them as an equal partner. Now you setting ground rules. You're setting ground rules for them to live by your request, your requirements. These are your requests, your proposition, your demands. It's not theirs. Did you ever think about sitting down at the table and having a conversation with your partner and ask them, what is it? And why can't we move forward? Have you ever thought about that? And a lot of us don't think about that because we want what we want when we want it. Period. We don't care about nobody else. It's all about us. That is totally selfish because you won't want nobody to do it to you. Hence why I said early on, going into a relationship when you first start dating, it's cool, it's hunky dory. But when you feel like the relationship is shifting to something serious, that is the time to place your expectations on the table and let them know, I'm dating with intentions. I'm dating to move to the next level of marriage. I'm dating so we can build something together. I'm dating so I can have a family. You lay all these expectations out before you get to 2 and 3 years down the line. So we want to jump over laying out the expectations, and then you think he can read your mind and know what you want, or when your mind shift and now you feel like you in a space that you want to be married, you in a space that you want to have kids, and y'all never had a conversation. How that makes sense? And now you mad because you providing this ultimatum And the ultimatum is so strong. And even in your presentation, how you present the ultimatum does not make him feel warm and fuzzy. And so it makes him feel like, all this time I've been with you, it's been a waste. And so a lot of it, when the guys responded, their response was, you don't hear me. I'm doing this for you. You don't accept what I'm saying. You can't wait. And let me say this. A lot of them is in their 20s. Do you really, 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 really know what you want to do in your 20s? And like one of the girls to say, well, I just want to have kids. It's more to being a mother than carrying a baby for 9 months or whatever duration you carry the child. It's more than just having a baby. Children are work. And I don't think a lot of us understand that children are work. And are you really ready and equipped to handle the task of being a mom while you still trying to work or build a business and everything else? So once you get your own child, you can't give them to nobody. And you can't expect nobody to take them when you need a break because that's your child. So that baby is with you 24/7, 365, and some years 366. It is a job. Going to bed and getting up. They don't sleep at night. Sometimes they get sick, they throw up, they boo-boo, they need your attention, they tease, and all this stuff. And so for us as women, we don't understand what it takes for a mother to be a mother. And some of us think we are ready for it, and we really not ready for it. It's easy to make your mouth say that you're ready for some things. It's easy. I'm ready for marriage. I'm ready to be in a relationship. I'm ready to be a mother. But are you really ready? Have you cleaned up the closet of things that you have hidden away? Have you done that? Have you? Because until you clean the closet out of the mess that you ain't got past and healed from, I suggest you don't do none of the three things. Period. And so when the one guy asked the girl, what is it about me that you want to be married to me? And she couldn't answer the question. See, we like the ideals of relationship. We like the ideals of marriage. But those who are married will tell you it's work. It's work. It's more than just walking down the aisle in a wedding dress. You got to give up some things. You got to compromise. You got to know when to pick and choose your battles. You got to know when to surrender some things. You got to give up a whole lot of stuff. It's no longer you. Now it's somebody else. And that dynamic totally changes. Are you really ready for that? Are you really ready for it? If you never lived with nobody, how do you know that you're going to be okay with living with somebody? Then the girl's talking about, well, I don't, run down the rules. I don't take out the garbage. I don't like you when you leave the toilet seat up. Well, he may not like when you have period panties on. So what? Where's the compromise? Where's the meeting in the middle? We put all these demands on people and not realizing that they are your partner. They are not a prospect that's interviewing for a job. They're supposed to be somebody that you not only love, you consider as your friend and you consider as your life partner, and you are in love with them. We like the title of things: manager, supervisor, president, CEO. That don't mean nothing. It's just the title. It's all about the individual. And I don't think that we really, 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 really pay attention and we really, really understand. I don't. So your clock is tick-tocking. It's okay. You need to figure out what you want, what your expectations are. What are you looking for in a man? And if you say you love somebody and that man asks you, why do you love me? And you go silent, then you're not in love. Because if you got a man that you're in love with, and he's everything, he's not perfect, but he checks off the boxes that you require, then you can say with confidence, I love him because he's caring. I love him because he's kind. I love him because he see the best in me. I love him because he brings out the best in me. I love him when I'm in my bad place. He knows how to put me in a better place. Those are reasons why you in love and you love somebody. But a lot of us, and even watching this show in the Ultimatum, there's a lot of different variables that people didn't even realize. So one couple, because the guy didn't want her to mix up with anybody else, he decided to propose and negated the big issue that the girl did not want to have kids. And he said he's going to be okay with that. So I ask you the question, when somebody tell you that they're okay with not having kids and you go ahead and jump head first into a relationship, how long would it be before you decide that wasn't working for you? See, we like to jump at things and negate what our wants and our needs and our desires are. And then we get in the relationship and we realize that those very things were very important to us and is no longer workable for you. You cannot no longer let that go because that's what you expect. That's what you desire out of a relationship, out of a partner. You want somebody you can build something with. You want somebody you can build something with. So we sit down and we have these ultimatums and we want people to do what we want them to do, when we want them to do it, and how we want them to do it. That's not a workable relationship. It's not. And that's only going to last for so long before somebody say, I'm going to cut my loss and I'm moving on. If you have expectations that you want to be married, that's something that you need to talk about up front. Tell them, okay, I'm not dating for 2 and 3 years. We're not living a life where I'm living like I'm living the life of being your wife. I'm not doing that because girlfriends' boundaries don't cross over into wife roles. It don't. I'm not responsible for wash your clothes. I'm not responsible for cooking. I'm not responsible for cleaning for you. I'm your girlfriend. You can wash, cook, and clean for yourself. Now, if sometime we want to have a special meal and I decide to cook, you decide to cook, that's fine. But we cross over girlfriend and wife in the same areas, and it's not. And I say this again because I know some people this can happen to. You've been a girlfriend so long that you actually think you're a wife and legally you're not. You bought houses together, you bought cars together, you got bank accounts together, insurance policies together, you started a family together, you started a business together, and then something happens to him and you think you are safe and secure. And then all of a sudden, because you did not ask the questions, you were not aware and needed to prepare yourself to be self-sufficient if something should happen to him. And all of a sudden, a wife comes out of the woodwork. And everything that you thought you were entitled to, she snatches. She snatches the house. She snatches the car. She snatches the bank account. She snatches the money from the insurance policy. You know why? Because she has legal grounds and you don't. Now, you're going to have to fight hard. But legally, she's entitled to whatever he has. And so if you have a house together, legally, you will have to sell that house. She going to get her money and you're going to take your half and you're going to move on with life legally. But we don't think about this. We have women out here saying, oh, I don't want to be married. I'm okay with being a girlfriend. We just going to live together. And y'all have all these babies. All these babies. And nobody is committed to nobody legally on paper. Why buy the cow when you get the milk for free? And men will only do what we allow them to. That's it, and that's all. And a lot of us live on fairy tale land of what we see on TV. And we have no idea what happens behind the scenes because everything that glitter is not gold. But we seem to think that it is, and it's not. Talk to some married people. Ask them some questions. Get to know. I'm just saying, you need to understand. I am having a real hot flash. You need to understand. Talk to them. Relationships are not easy. I don't care. Friendships, family relationships, they're not going to be all peachy keen all the time. But what I'm saying is when you provide a demand, a request, or a proposition for something for somebody to do, you need to think long and hard about that. You really do. Because that stuff can backfire on you. It can backfire. And so he decides to marry you and y'all have kids. And later on down the line, he decided to walk away. Now you're mad. You want to take him to child support court. And now you want to cut him up one side and down the other. And now you want to tear him down in front of the kids and say he ain't no good this. But that's the person who you gave the ultimatum to. So you got what you got. You gave an ultimatum to that person. You got what you got. That's what ultimatum gets you. It's a temporary satisfaction. It's not a permanent resolution. It's a temporary satisfaction. That's all it is. So again, if you in a relationship have the conversation up front, your expectation, ask all the proper questions. What are you looking for in a partner? What are your expectations? How long you want to date? You want to be married? How many kids do you want? What about the financial situation? We go in a relationship and we just don't ask the proper questions. And then we end up in scenarios that leaves us feeling unwanted, unloved, and feel like we have wasted our times. But then at the same time, when you get out these relationships, they show you some things about yourself. Do you take the lessons and take heed and learn from them? Do you? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Can't nobody answer that question but you. So, again, giving ultimatums, we really need to think long and hard about giving somebody an ultimatum. And how would you feel if somebody gave you an ultimatum? See, we're putting a demand on somebody, not letting them freely choose, but we're pushing them to make a choice or a decision that we want it to be in our favor when they're not ready for that position at all. Some men ain't ready to be fathers, but we as women think we can push them and make them ready. That's not how that works. And then when it don't turn out like you expected to, then you upset and you angry and you want to act a fool. That's what you want to do. And that's not cool whatsoever. It's not. It's not cool at all. And that's something you should think long and hard about. Don't do anything to anyone you wouldn't want somebody to do to you. Period. That's only fair. And how does the ultimatum really help? And how long does that ultimatum really last? Because let me tell you something. If somebody really is in love with you, you ain't got to give them an ultimatum about anything. You're going to know that they love you and they're in love with you. And it's not just going to be by words only. They're going to show you by their actions. And you're going to feel the actions that they show you. But that's not how we do. I'm ready to get married and I want to get married now. Knowing you're not financially stable, you don't even have the money to get married. And a lot of women do it, can't pay for the wedding, and then you expect your family and your friends to jump in and pay for stuff when you know full well your fiance say, you're not ready for this. I am ready for it, get an attitude. And you know you're not ready. You ain't cleaned up the baggage that you've been hiding in the closet. But you feel like if you go ahead and push this, it's going to help. No, the bag is still going to be in the closet. You may have pushed it to the back and closed the door, but that baggage is still back there in the closet with the door closed. It ain't changed because you ain't dealt with it. So it's still that baggage. It's still there. It hasn't changed. It haven't moved. It's still where you placed it at. It's still where you hid it at. So do some self-reflections, work on yourself, and then sit down and have a conversation with the person to whom you're dating and find out what their wants and their desires are. And then y'all come to some common ground. It's called compromise. Have a conversation and talk to each other instead of talking at each other. That makes a healthier relationship. We like to talk at people instead of talking to them. And when you know that your relationship is good is when your mate says, "What do I do for you?" And you can answer that question without a pause. When you can answer it without a pause. When you can say, "He may not do this, but I love this about him. He may not do that, but he has this. Oh, sometimes he can just look at me and I get a certain feeling all over my body." Some of y'all women out here, y'all just want to be married for the name and you want to throw it up in somebody's face. And that's not what marriage is designed for. It's not. Do it for the right reason instead of all the wrong reasons. How long are you going to do things for all the wrong reasons instead of doing them for the right reason? And that's a question you have to ask yourself. Nobody can answer that for you but you. We do a lot of things for the wrong reasons instead of doing them for the right reason. And that's something we need to think about. Truly, we do. So, what do you think about an ultimatum? Is it helpful? Is it healthy? Or is it not? Because I'm going to say it's not. I'm going to say an ultimatum, when you put a demand on somebody, you get what you get. Bottom line. Because that person is a grown adult. They know what they want out of a relationship. And they know what they don't want out of a relationship. They know if you're the one or if you're not the one that they want to spend the rest of their life with. It don't take men that long to figure that out. And when we understand that, we'll be so much better. But stop giving up stuff so freely. If you give up stuff so free, like the girl say, "I screw so good." So that's your opinion. That's not his opinion. That's not what he said about you. And that's just sex. Take it off the table. What you got left in substance of the relationship if you take the sex off the table? Now, what do you have left between you and him? What? What do you have left? And some of us have lost our self-esteem and our confidence. And so we just settle. That's what we do. We just settle. So why do we settle? So I'm saying to you again, think long and hard about providing anybody an ultimatum, because you may think it's beneficial to you, but really it's not, because the person is appeasing you and they're not pleasing themselves in the process. You put a demand on somebody and ask them to do something that they're really not ready to do, but they want to appease you, and they don't even last that long. Hence why some people get married and 30 days later they're separated and gone their separate ways, because it was not what both parties agreed to. It was not what both individuals wanted. They was appeasing you instead of pleasing themselves. So they took what they wanted and put your request, your demand, your proposition above what they wanted and what they desired. Bottom line. That's it, and that's all. So that's something we need to think about. All right. So y'all let me know what you think about an ultimatum. And the series is on Netflix. It's called The Ultimatum. But you learn a lot about yourself. And I'm sure they learn a lot about themselves and the feelings and emotions that when they put the people in the ultimatum, because after a certain time they get to choose another person that they live with for 3 weeks like they're married. So now you're opening the door to actually let somebody else walk in instead of sit down like grown adults and ask your partner, what is it? What are you looking for? What are your wants? What are your expectations? It's all about conversation, and conversation we don't want to have, because guess what? We don't want the answers. And we definitely don't want to feel rejected. And that's the buck of our problem. We don't want to feel rejected. Call it what it is. We don't want to feel rejected. But how you should know what you want out of a relationship, and you should go in a relationship with anybody with clear conversation and your expectations laid out up front. So you learn later on. You learn that you don't want to date 2 and 3 years. You learn that it don't take that long for nobody to figure it out. Then those are expectations you need to put on the table. My expectation is I want to be married by a certain time. They can say, well, I want to wait for a couple of years. Then you can ask the question, why do you want to wait? My expectation after we get married, I want to have a kid after a year. And then they might say, no, I want to wait 2 years. And you ask them, why you want to wait 2 years? They may have a legitimate reasons why they want to wait. You can't negate their feelings. That's why you all having a conversation. It's called open dialogue, one to another. That's what it's called. So understand that. All right. Meet people where they're at. Like you would want somebody meet you where you're at. You don't want nobody pushing you and pushing you and pushing you into something. Then you start being resentful because they're provoking or pushing you to do something that you're not ready to do. So think about things before we react to them and we say them, because we put our own foot in our mouth with certain actions and certain things that we do. Bottom line, that's all I'm saying. All right. So y'all let me know what you think about an ultimatum. And if you want to have a dialogue, you want to have open conversation, let me know. I'll pull you in on the stream and we can talk about it, because I want everybody's perspective on providing an ultimatum. And if you are an individual who gave an ultimatum, how did that ultimatum work out for you? Was it productive? Did you get what you want, or did it not last that long? I really want to know. I really do. So please chime in and let me know, how did that work? Because again, as I said early on, there's a difference between laying out your expectations than making a demand, a request, a requirement on another grown individual. There is a big difference. All right. Make sure you follow us on all our social media outlets. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, TikTok. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out toawomensheart.org. Check out the website, toawomensheart.com, and t-shirt website that speaks to the heart of woman, toawomensheart.store. Make sure you share. And I thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in, whether you watch live or whether you watch on the replay. And I do apologize, but I don't control the internet. So if you see the screen turn a little bit, you're probably still able to hear me talk. Just continue to listen. And I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you bring somebody, draw somebody in, pull somebody in, invite somebody in to watch the live stream. All right. All right. Thank you. You all have an awesome rest of your evening and take care until we talk again.